the question is, how do you structure 3S time, if at all? And what guardrails do you put to limit the kinds of improvements people can make or where they can make the improvements?
Yeah, yeah.
So, the
So what parameters, what guardrails do you put in place? What structure?
yeah, and maybe what structure is the best way to say it. Like,
Yeah,
that again, like our the concern, and this is coming from like a new lean practitioner, is like
yeah,
that gets raised by management to me, or by sorry, by the rest of the leadership team, is like, okay, what we want to avoid is improvement anarchy, where people are just improving things like left and right, and there's not a
yeah,
system that ties into the bigger organization's goals, basically.
yeah. How do we prevent CI anarchy, continuous improvement anarchy? Yeah, great question. Let's hit it. And you've already obviously got some great tips from a few other people, but I'll give you some insights because we started this journey in 2017. We had exactly the same issue. So we got people like, I read the book, we started the morning meeting, we just launched, we just went, fast and furious. Like we just went for it. So and I'm not saying that approach is right because now I'm watching a lot of business cultures using more of a pull, more of a pull system where they're setting up an improvement area, they're getting a few leaders involved, and then they're bringing people to that area and saying, hey, this is pretty awesome. What do you think? Do you want to get involved? That's how a lot of businesses are rolling it out now. And I'm actually
Mhm.
coaching a few businesses who are doing it that way. But I'm also coaching a bunch of businesses that do it the way we did it originally, which is just jump in, feet first, boots and all. And just like you've done, really. That's what you've done, right? Boots and all.
Well, pretty much, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like again, it was definitely like ready, fire, aim. Like
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
like, this is a good thing, and I'd rather take imperfect action on it than wait
Yeah.
around for it to be,
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
like to like sit down and like write a plan about like the exact way to do it. I was like, I think we're gonna learn from doing it, and that's certainly my
Yeah.
personal style as well. So there you go, right?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. So imperfect action beats perfect inaction every day of the week, right? You got that, you understand that, and it's production then perfection, and it's like learn by doing, right?
Yeah,
So
exactly.
learn by doing. Yeah, love it, love it. Yeah, so some things so we had the same thing. So we launched it, and we have different maturity in the culture already. You got leadership, you've got people that have just started, and you've got people that have no idea what we're doing, right? And that's how we started. And so you say, and we started in the morning meeting. So we're watching videos of Paul's channel and we're saying, here's some examples, go do it. And so we have the morning meeting. We did improvement time for 15, 30 minutes, go out and do it. You start hanging up, you start by 3Sing, right? That's the most important thing. Sweep, sort, standardize, or sweep, sort, standardize, whichever way around you want to do it. So the 3S part is the key place to start. And as Paul and Ryan and lots of other great practitioners say, they say, if your lean journey falls off the rails, just get back onto 3S. And so make sure straight after the morning meeting, there's 15 minutes to 20 minutes of time allocated to do 3S. So sweep your area, clean it up, sort it, put it in. It's basically, as we all know, it's 5S condensed, right? And really 5S, you can condense it into those three things. Not every lean consultant will agree with that. In fact, we've worked with one recently who doesn't agree with that at all. But I'm like, we're trying to simplify, simplify, simplify. So get in your office space, in your factory space, clean it, sweep it, and set it in order, right? That's what we're trying to do with 3S. Hang tools up, and we got a bit of that. So we got a lot of that. So everyone went out, made an improvement, and they'd hang up tools here, hang up tools there, hang up tools there, do all this stuff. But there wasn't really a structured plan. So we had a lot of that going on, and it still helped because it took us from chaos to, definitely more order. But then the next day you get a guy coming along and someone who's put the boot rack over here or shift the boot rack over here because he thinks it's better there, or he'll shift the broom from here to there or the shovel from here to there. So you start getting a lot of that going on, and suddenly you're spinning your wheels. Is that the kind of the problem you're facing?
Well, so that's kind of interesting because that's basically more the problem. We've had a little bit of that, but I would say like inconsequential. It's more like the threat of that is being seen by other people makes them a little bit hesitant to buy into the continuous improvement idea because they're like,
Yeah,
I know where this is going to go. I want the wrench on the left. I want the wrench on the right.
yeah,
And
yeah,
then
yeah, 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 yeah,
they can at least see, even if they don't have like a solution, they can at least see, okay, this isn't like an infinitely successful strategy, basically,
yeah,
to just let people do
yeah.
their thing. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's cool. Okay, so I'm gonna cut. There's a couple of cool things here I'm gonna share. One is because most businesses have a whole bunch of people that are very like not they don't understand lean at all. So you're starting brand new, starting fresh, and even businesses that have got a mature lean culture, we often I think they have. You go and visit and you talk to the people on the ground, and they actually don't really know what's going on still, even though they might have visual management, they might have an improvement program, because you find that it's usually the managers or the leaders doing all the improvements. So a great way to do that is we call them mini Kaizen events. And I was training a guy on this the other day, and we share this with a lot of businesses. So we shifted from all our inexperienced people going and we're making them do at least one improvement a day each. Now we say you are part of a little group. Your team, for example, next door in our wet cast paving factory, they have their morning meeting. Then they go and do a 15 to 30-minute mini Kaizen event together. So instead of a Kaizen event which takes a day or 2 days, we apply 2 second lean to it. We do it the lean way, and we've got a list of problems that they all agree on in the morning meeting, and you kind of prioritize that list on a whiteboard. So that's pretty simple stuff, really. And that's what, if you haven't started doing that, you can start doing that tomorrow in your morning meeting. Make sure you've got all your main, you're calling on and saying, hey, Bob, what's, in your opinion, what's the biggest problem, or what's something that's really bugging you in the factory right now? And you write it down and you just brainstorm it, and then you go through and look at the easy wins, or what's going to be a real, what's going to be the ones we can actually go out there and make a difference on today. So you pick one, go out straight after the morning meeting, go out on the factory floor, get the group around, and you have to lead it quite strongly for a start. Now all my leaders lead these meetings. I hardly ever lead a Kaizen event anymore. All our leadership team are really good at it. So and you go around the group, it's just like a morning meeting, but you're at the gemba and you're going, hey Pete, what do you think we should do with this problem? Hey Bob, and you're actually looking at the problem, and you're actually, for us it's like, might be pulling the molds through the spraying booth, or it might be whatever, and you go, oh, actually, why don't we put the sprayer up here, because it's actually, it's going to be easier, it's going to save us a second, or it's going to save us a bit of struggle. So we're saying, can we do to remove the struggle in this process? What can we do to strip some waste out of this process? And straight away, you can actually make some changes on the Gemba. So everyone's involved in this mini Kaizen event, and suddenly you've got everyone involved in some improvement every single day of the week. And then your leadership team. So I'm going to draw you've probably seen this before too, the improvement triangle. You've got level 1, level 2, and level 3. So 90% of your improvements are going to come from here. Those are the cheap and cheerful ones. So those are people in your office and factory floor that actually, they understand a little bit about 2 second lean, and or tiny, we call it TDI, tiny daily improvements, and you let them do that. Level 2 is where it affects more people, right? So it's affecting,
Hmm.
it's a more thoughtful improvement. It takes a bit more planning, and that might be where your mini Kaizen events come in. Level 3 is where you're spending big bucks on a new machine or a new CRM or whatever, and that's generally the senior leadership team is making those improvements. Your middle leadership team is making those improvements, and then everyone else is making the level 1 improvements. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely.
Does that clarify? Is this going in the right direction for you?
Yeah, yeah, certainly.
Yeah, these are
Um,
things you could try.
yeah, for sure. Like I think,
The
I
key thing, I
think,
want to get back to this. How do you structure 3S time? What parameters? How do we prevent CI anarchy? Because these are the things I really want to make sure we're answering these for you.
yeah, that's what I was just going back to. So, like, I think I'm still interested in the structure of 3S, like in terms of what, like, how much freedom and how much approval do people need for for making improvements?
Yeah, good. Here's another thing that'll help you then. Yeah, great. I like it. Another thing that's really helped us and businesses that we coach is, what is this week's focus? So we used to, and we've only launched this a few months back, and it's made a huge difference. So this week, actually, we're in our overheads team, we're focusing on cleaning up the CRM. So every day, everyone across that uses the CRM has to show on the chat, on the 2 second lean chat, has to show at least 10 contacts that they've improved on the CRM or cleaned up, right? So that's a massive system improvement. And the overheads team in the factory teams at the moment, their big focus for this week is to improve the standard in the bathrooms. So that's another thing that I wish we'd done back in 2017 when we started, was saying, here's the lean focus or the improvement focus for the week ahead. and it might be different in your factory than it is in your offices, or it might be the same.
Hmm.
If bathrooms are, what's your biggest problem right now? If it's bathroom standards or if it's cafeteria standards, then you make that the improvement focus, and every improvement you see on the chat has to be focused in that direction. And if they need a plan, then it's where the mini Kaizen event comes in. You go into the
Yeah.
cafeteria or into the bathroom and you say, guys, we've
Are
got
you
to
there?
agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, you got me?
Oh yeah, yeah. You cut out for a
Yep.
second. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, sorry. So I'm saying this is another. This is these sort of tie together. The mini Kaizen event is where on Monday you say this is what I want our focus to be for the week ahead because I think it's a big problem. Then after this morning meeting, we're going to go straight to the cafeteria or straight to the bathroom, and we're going to agree on a plan together on what we're going to improve. And then for the rest of the week, that's all I want to see on the chat. I'm not, and you're going to say to them, you might have some champion improvers like we do here. We've got some lean all stars. You're not going to stop them doing more level one improvements during the week. So they're going to still fix what bugs them or they're going to remove the struggle. But it means everyone that's struggling to come up with an improvement idea, there is no more excuses because you've got to have NME, no more excuses. And you've got to, again, you've got to be a bit tough here and it takes a bit of grit and a bit of backbone, but you've got to change the people or change the people. If they don't get on board with this program, because all you're trying to do, and you got to keep reminding of this over and over and over again, that you're trying to improve their life, help them hit their most important life goals faster. Like everything you're doing with this lean culture is for them. You're helping them achieve their most important life goals. And if they don't get on board quickly, they're not going to belong here anymore because otherwise it's like a drop of milk in the bucket of water. You got your bucket of water, one drop of milk will cloud that whole bucket. It'll wreck your culture, totally wreck
Hmm.
it, and hold it back forevermore. And you've got to take drastic action. So I always say to people, when you need to make a people change, act fast. Don't muck around. I'm not saying don't give people chances. We give people lots of chances, but we're also draw the line somewhere. So we give them all the information they need. We train, we coach, we grow people. They join the morning meeting. They've got a voice every single day of the week. We share the financial forecasting every week in that meeting. All these things. There's no secrets. Everything's transparent. But if they don't embrace that and embrace all those privileges, then you don't belong here. So that this all works together. So I'm not giving you one single answer to this, but I am giving you
Hmm.
a bunch of stuff that this week you might try this, next week you might try that. You might train them on the lean improvement triangle, put that up as a poster, so they can understand that. And there's a few things there straight away that are going to help. And it's got to be non-negotiable because if you make lean negotiable or it's an option, it's not optional. So we call it NN, non-negotiable. So it's an NN in your day. Like it's if you're not turning up to work to make at least one improvement, then you don't belong here because you are a process engineer, and that's how we hire you from day one. We make them listen to the book before they join us, and read it through our playbook, which has all our own principles in it. Is this heading in the right direction for you, Henry? Like, is this kind of what you're looking for?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, I think my question was maybe like a little bit more was like a little bit more in the nitty gritty, but I think it's really beneficial to hear the like uh yeah, to hear some of these ideas that you have that I think are a little bit more uh based on like how you are shaping the culture
Yeah,
is very
yeah,
interesting, right? So yeah, so
yeah,
I'm I'm definitely interested. Like I'm
yeah.
definitely
Cool.
getting something out of this. Yeah.
That's great. So are these some things you could take away and actually use? Because this is stuff we share with so many different businesses, and we know it works because they do it and they try it, and we do it day by day here in our business, in our own business. Um,
Hmm.
what parameter? Yeah, what parameters and structure? Well, again, to answer that, parameters you can say, well, if it affects more than just your workstation, this is a suggestion for you as well. You have a list of guidelines, right? You say, and it's in your morning meeting area, or you can reinforce it every day in your morning meeting. Say, by the way, guys, our parameters or our structure are these things. And you say, for a level one improvement, you don't need to ask any permission. You just do it. Fix what bugs you, remove the struggle. If it
Hmm.
means creating a new walkaway standard for your desk or 3Sing your drawer or your desk, you don't have to ask permission. Level two, you have to escalate it to your team leader. Level three, you have to escalate it to your senior leadership team. So you do have to have a what's the word, like a sign off process. Otherwise, you are going to have anarchy. And
Uh-huh.
it's exactly what we experienced in the early days. It's just it gets a bit out of hand, and you end up spinning your wheels. So that's some good parameters you can put in place. And how do you structure 3S time? Again, it's different for every business. In some of our divisions, we do it straight after the morning meeting. Some of them do it at the end of the day after cleanup. Some of them in our overheads team, they have flexibility to make improvements all day long, so they can stop and fix what bugs them. But if you've got a machine
Okay.
running, a machine running that we need to keep the rhythm on, unless there's an issue and someone pulls the end on cord, like to stop the line, then we'll carry on and do the improvement time at the end of the day or at the start of the day, depending on their program. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah, that
Um,
it's yeah.
but are
It's
we
not a
again?
one size fits all approach, is what I keep
It's
hearing.
not at all,
Yeah.
not at all. And it's we've created our own version of 2 second lean. We call it TDI, tiny daily improvements. Ryan's created his own version. You're creating your own version. And it's I'm just trying to give you some ideas that you can try and
Mhm.
test and have a crack at. But let's circle back to the question again. What are you still missing from what are we still missing with what we're talking about? What else do I need to have we answered this question, or we still got you want to go a bit deeper?
I think okay, so one thing that I'm hearing, and I guess I just want to clarify it, is that basically like your approach to like structuring the improvements is in a certain way top down, in that like you have some goals for your companies, and then you structure like outside of the like the very small things, but you structure like for instance directing what people work on during the week, or like for people that are less senior in the company, then you organize the mini Kaizen events. So kind of like there's like a some kind of a like a linear curve of like responsibility and leadership in the organization equals basically like freedom to
Correct.
improve or involvement at the highest level of improvement. So
Correct.
basically, if I was
You
just
got
to
it.
summarize, what it sounds like is you're saying that like your leadership team kind of makes the call on the big direction, and then you filter that down
Correct.
with varying degrees to the lower
Yep. Yep.
lower
And
responsibility
that's
individuals.
really important, because as you scale and the more and more staff you get, you'll get totally out of control, and you'll have absolute chaos if you don't have that. We call
Mhm.
it freedom within a framework. So it's like a pilot flying a 747 or a A380, a highly complex instrument and an incredible framework, right? Like so much detail, but that pilot still has freedom within the framework, but he's got parameters, very strict parameters. So it's kind of like piloting an A380, except there's less going on around you.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Well, versus a Cessna, where then you've got a totally different flying
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
instrument,
yeah,
right?
yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
so you could call, yeah, like again, like level one, like flying a Cessna. Level twos might be like flying a Bombardier twin engine. Level three might be like flying a 737. And that's great because yeah, the framework gets tighter and tighter as you go up, and as you gain experience in the company, you're able to do more and more and more value adding improvements. Does that make sense? Because if you don't build
yeah,
this, and this is where I see most 2 second lean companies, they jump in, and this is pretty much where they fall over. And if I had my time again, these are the things I would have put in place in 2017 to fix these problems. That's what I'm trying to say to you. So all I'm trying to do with everyone I talk to is compress your journey. So instead of you making 8 years of mistakes like I have, or 22 years of mistakes in business, you hopefully learn from those, and you can really compress that time, because this kind of structure is 2 second lean. The book is awesome. It's amazing. And it's changed so many lives. But if you just throw it out there, and you've got people at all different levels of abilities and talents and skills and training, and you say go do this thing, you're going to end up with what you say is you know improvement anarchy, or because you're not actually you're not respecting people and not growing people properly. You're throwing these people that should be at level one, you're throwing them in the deep end, expecting them to make game changing improvements to the company. They're just not going to do that because you haven't trained them. That makes
yeah,
sense?
yeah, yeah. And that's a good point. That like it's not like an abdication of leadership.
No way. No way. You actually
Like,
need you need stronger leadership than ever, because the leaders in your team need to become lean leaders. So they're servant leaders, they're growing people, but they're keeping the rope tight and they're making sure each person is working within their ability and then stretching them. So that's why another thing you need is a skills matrix, which if you haven't got one, I can give you a template. It's so simple. And every department or every person is on the skills matrix, and you can see where they are in their journey on the key skills in their department. That's really important too. So that's visual management. So a big part of this is visual control. You know, Toyota's always talking about create a continuous flow to bring problems to the surface. You know, the 14 Toyota principles, actually all these things fit within those 14 principles. You've got to make things visual. You got to make things simple. Another one of their principles is grow leaders that thoroughly understand the work and can teach it to others. And at the moment, you might be the only lean leader in the company. You've got to train another person to become that leader. Does that make sense? So there's their
definitely.
four. Yeah, I can share those 14 principles with you too. And you know those. And if you keep that, if you're in your morning meeting each day, you share one of those lean principles, one of those 14 principles. You talk about the 8 wastes, you talk about the 3 MUs, the three Muda, Mura, and Murai. Those things that these people are going to get better and better day by day by day, because your job as a leader is to grow people. That's I don't vary from Paul's teachings in that at all.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, for sure. It's just like a different uh it's like an interesting way to do it. It's a little bit, it's like less hierarchical, but also more yeah, like, I don't know how to say it. You got to keep the rope tight in the way that
Yeah,
you're saying, which is
yeah,
a little bit harder to keep the rope tight when there's inherently more slack in terms
yeah.
of like people having a bit more freedom to do things, right? So
Yeah, yeah. But it's freedom within a framework. Don't forget that.
mhm,
That's what most people forget. And they jump in their 2 second lean journey and they have freedom without a framework. And that's where you get the chaos. And that's where you just spin your wheels. And you've also got to have a great business. You can't just expect to apply 2 second lean to any business model and transform the business. It's still got to be a good business model. You still got to, that's why we apply 2 second lean to the way we do our financial reporting, and our daily reporting, our sales reporting, all that stuff. You apply those tiny daily improvements to all those things as well. Because
mhm,
if you're just doing physical improvements in the warehouse, but not improving your CRM and your or your ERP system or your accounting, monthly accounts, all that, you're not really applying lean, are you? You've got to apply continuous improvement to every department of the business, because a business is, as you know, made up of all these different departments. So you've got marketing, and you've got sales, and you've got operations, and you've got customer service, and you've got admin and accounts, and you've got R&D, and lean should be really in the middle, and every department needs to be, it's like a hub or hub in the wheel, really. Each department they'll need to be connected to one another as well. But lean is the glue, and it's that continuous improvement through the elimination of waste. Does that make sense? So yeah, again,
mhm.
I probably missed that in the early days too. Is we need to you still got to keep improving your business structure and your business model.
Yeah, definitely. And that's like the thing that I think that's another thing that's on the horizon for us. I mean, we're like 3 months in. So
Yep.
it's
Yep.
it's coming, and we start applying it to our admin like meetings and process. But
Yep.
definitely the lowest hanging fruit is moving the tools around for sure. Like
Yep.
uh and so that's great to see that like that perspective of experience, because
Yes.
uh, certainly I can see that you can't just polish your way, like you can't move the tools to profitability or to like certain levels, like it's not going to help you on other business fundamentals.
Yep.
It's
Yep.
it'll help with your, maybe with your production rate,
Yep.
which will help with your like gross margin, but then you're going to
Yep.
still run into situations that are
Yes.
beyond that
I
can't
totally
solve.
agree. I totally agree. So if you're having a monthly board meeting or a monthly strategy meeting, you should be, you're always tweaking the strategy. So everything you touch in a day as a leader there should be improvement going on. Like I probably make 10, 20, sometimes 30 improvements in a day. I don't even keep track of them all now, but because everything I touch, whether it's an invoice template or a quote template, I'm looking for waste in that. I'm going, this is way too many words. Why are we giving this to the customer? What can we strip out of this? And I'll put it back to admin and say, here's my idea of crossing out these. Why aren't we cross-selling on this? Why isn't there a QR code on this? Like, it doesn't matter what it is. Everything you touch, it's got to have that improvement lens, and you've got to grow leaders around you to support you with that. Otherwise, you end up drowning in a, like it's too much for one person. How many staff in your business?
8.
8. Yeah, sweet. So you're in a perfect position. We had 32 staff when we started on the 2 second lean journey, and then we grew to 75, and it helped us to get to that level. So and we're back. We've had 2 really tough years of business because the economy absolutely tanked and construction tanked. We didn't use it as an excuse. Obviously, we doubled down on everything, but we still couldn't get that sales number up. But now we're back into growth mode again. So I don't reckon we probably wouldn't have even got through this without the principle of TDI, having everyone focused on lean. So hopefully that helps you. But if you start to implement some of these little things, you're going to really build a framework. That's what I guess what I'm coming back to today to answer this might not be the answer you want to hear, but it's got to be freedom within a framework, setting some parameters. Like that's what I'm saying. And this, what's this week's improvement focus? So make it easier for the team to improve. Take away any room for excuses. You've probably already, if you haven't already built a lean cave and get the team to get involved. And I'm not saying it's a top-down approach, because you're actually saying this week's focus in the morning meeting, you say, guys, what should this week's focus be? What do you think is our biggest problem right now? So it's not just you telling them, you're getting that feedback, So yeah, don't get me wrong. We don't just say thou shalt do this and thou shalt do that. It's always involving the team. Always.
Yeah.
Always. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're taking that feedback from them, but then
then guiding it in the right direction.
Yeah, exactly. Like guiding, taking that and using it to shape it with the business goals and whatever other goals are.
Yeah. Correct. Because in those brainstorming sessions, in those morning meetings, you will get some silly ideas come through, because you've got people that are inexperienced. But that's great. You say, oh, thanks, Bob. That's a great idea. But I think if we look at our list, the easy one for us as a company right now, I think is going to be this. Does everyone, can we get 80% agreement on that, 50% agreement on that? Because we've got to agree on something and then go do it. We don't want to be standing in meetings arguing about the priority. We don't want to be wasting time doing that. So you do have to guide that meeting, and that's what leadership is about. Yeah.
Cool. That's awesome.
Cool.
That's some great info.
Is that enough for now?
Yeah, sure. Unless you got anything else that you want to hit me with, anything.
No, I mean we could go through all the different tools and techniques that we're using now and that we train people on. But I think I always like to keep these sessions to 15, 20 minutes, because otherwise it gets a bit overwhelming, and then you need to just pick one thing and just give it a crack this week, and then pick another thing and give it a crack next week. So, you might pick the Kaizen events. If you're not getting everyone involved, that might be your mini Kaizen events, might be your easiest way tomorrow to start getting people involved, or it might be this week's focus. But you've got to make sure on the chat you say, well, it's not an option. You've got to be involved in an improvement every day. No options. If it's optional, you're never going to win. That's it. That's all I've got, really. Any more questions, or should we keep moving?
No, that's good. I'm good.
Great. I really appreciate your time, Henry.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks a lot for the information.
No, it's brilliant. We'll get this edited and we'll get it posted. And what you've done is every time someone jumps in with a question like this, it helps 1,000 other people. So super helpful.
Yeah, it's all good.
Thanks for joining.
Thanks. Have a good one.
Awesome, mate. Appreciate your time. Talk soon.
Bye.
See you, mate.